This time around, it is around scalability and whether we've got a scalable business model. And there's a lot to consider, of course, when we ask ourselves whether we've got a scalable business. And essentially, that's what our in-flight checks do, and the Entrepreneur Scale Up system that we developed to help us to deliver on it. And we need to get the 4 key pillars of scaling up working right. That's strategy, people, execution, and cash. Those of us with access to our Smart 90 software will be familiar with this. Those of you that are new and that aren't, what we'll do is we'll put a link a little bit later on to a scorecard light version of this that will help you, if you wanted to rate your business on about 30 different aspects of those 4 pillars. But in this session, we'll look at a couple of key aspects around the business model itself, and a really simple question to help you know whether you've got a scalable business approach or not is, could you handle 5 times the number of customers if they landed in your lap tomorrow? And if the answer is not a clear yes, then maybe there's a little bit of work to be done. And why is scalability important? Well, ultimately because a scalable business will become a valuable business, which will lead to options for us. Whether or not we've got designs for global scaling, we certainly want to be thinking about a scalable business model that will create value. So that's a key question, but it helped to bring this to life a little bit. I'm going to introduce somebody called Stephanie Breedlove, and Stephanie started Breedlove and Associates as a way to pay her nanny. The big payroll processes weren't interested in dealing with one person's wages, Stephanie's nanny, and she spotted an opportunity to start a payroll company, essentially for parents, specifically for parents who needed a nanny. And she grew the business to be a 9 million turnover company, and she then sold that in 2012 for a 6 times multiple of turnover, not of EBITDA, a 6 times multiple of turnover, so for 54 million. And not so unusual maybe in the SaaS model type businesses, but very unusual for a service business. So I'm going to look at a couple of concepts that Stephanie followed and built in to help her to scale and ultimately achieve that exit. And one concept is the owner's trap. Then we're going to look at the fork in the road that Stephanie faced and we're all likely to face at some point. And then a couple of frameworks, reminders, maybe you may know about the hedgehog, particularly probably don't know about TVR, but things to think about regardless of what size you are. And the first of those is the owner's trap. And this is something that we often get caught in as business owners, and it can happen multiple times. It's not just a case of early on in the business, it can be later on in the business too. But typically, most of the businesses that we work with started because the owner or the owners were good at something, were passionate about making a difference. And they ultimately, though, aspired to freedom and control, a certain level of freedom and control. But what actually tends to happen is most of us get caught in this owner's trap, where we've created the kind of business that is over reliant on us. And it's generally because when we start, even if we've got a couple of partners with us, we're the ones that do everything, including the selling. We've got the most industry knowledge and expertise. We start to work with a couple of clients, and because we're probably really good at what we do, they come to us, even if we've already developed a small team. And because we want to please our customers, when they ask whether we can do other things as well, we start to say yes, and we broaden the range of services and products maybe that we're offering and start to offer too many things. And when we start to do that, that means that even when we get team members on board, it's quite possible that we're the only ones that can really deal with all of the issues that come up, because we've got the depth and breadth of knowledge. So our customers keep coming back to us and we get dragged back into the delivery. And that means then, because we're doing it really well, but because we're in the center of it, the customer comes back to us when there's questions, but when they want more products and services as well. So we start that cycle again, where we're again doing the selling. And it's very difficult to scale a business like this. It could be that you're holding on to a key aspect of the customer journey, which is leading into the trap. For example, maybe doing all the quotes and proposal, which means that you're owning the relationship. And there'll be a ceiling to how far you can take your business. That ceiling could be early on at a few hundred thousand, or it could be later on at several million, but there will be that ceiling. And ultimately, a business is probably worthless at that point as well, because it is over reliant on us. So how do you know if you're in that trap? Well, typical signs might be that certainly early on, and one of the early valleys of death in terms of the business will slow down. When you go on holiday, you take a break, you're not there, business slows down. But even later on, at many different stages, customers may still be coming back to you with their problems and challenges. You may be feeling that everything's on your shoulders, maybe even getting a bit much, maybe lost your mojo a little bit. Certainly seen that at times. And equally, it can be that the business gets to a stage where it plateaus. So those are the sort of things to look out for. But then how do we break the cycle? And the first thing, of course, is to be aware of it, which if we weren't before, we are now. Then we need to assess some key measures that drive value and scalability and work on improving them. And one of those is focus, and that was Stephanie's approach. She hit about 30,000 turnover per month in revenue. At that point, to grow further, she had a decision to make. She had a fork in the road, and she could look at selling more stuff, if you like, to her existing user base. Her existing parents might be house cleaning, grocery delivery services, lawn care, all sorts of stuff that busy couples perhaps need. Or she could focus on sticking to the payroll service and finding more and more parents and building that customer base. Now, many advisors would say, well, it's easier to sell stuff to existing customers than it is to go out and find new customers. And of course, they're right in that extent. But what that doesn't do is create a valuable business in the long run. And Stephanie decided to focus on getting more parents for her nanny services, rather than selling more products to existing customers that might be maybe more commoditized type services. So she focused on selling one thing to as many customers as possible. And as we all scale, we'll be faced with a similar decision, maybe at multiple forks in the road as we hit key milestones. So one first thing to really think about is this idea of selling less stuff to more people rather than more stuff to less people. So how might that apply to us in our businesses? And breaking the owner's trap is largely around this focus idea. And how do we find it, and how do we keep that focus, and how do we get a framework for helping us as well as other people in the business to decide which things to pursue and which things not to pursue? And a couple of key concepts are the hedgehog and the three chests of scalability that I mentioned earlier. So the first with the and by the way, the TVR are the three levels of scalability. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be offering a TVR as a prize for somebody within this session. Different kind of TVR. But let's look at the hedgehog first. And this will be a reminder, certainly for people that we've worked with. I suspect a number of you will have come across this with Jim Collins. It's Jim Collins's concept from Good to Great, and the author of a number of other great books. And it's this idea of finding the focus, and in businesses, that combination of these three circles: stuff we're passionate about, that we love doing, things that we're really good at, or ideally the best at, and what makes us money, what's our profit engine. And if most of us as business owners are not short on great ideas, in fact, quite the opposite. So this helps us to focus on products and services that we can do brilliantly, that we love doing, and that make money. Any two of these without a third means that we've got an unbalanced three-legged stool, if you like, and we're not going to have the success that we would look for. And when we look at that bottom right-hand circle, what makes us money, or what drives a profit engine, again, we want it to link back to something that we're passionate about, links to our core purpose, and ideally our mission, our stretch goals. And even if you've done this already and you think you've got this nailed, this bottom right one needs reviewing on a regular basis, certainly every 3 years, but probably every year in your annual planning, because that's the thing that might change according to market conditions or what you've learned. And whereas certainly the top one about what we're passionate about our core purpose shouldn't change so frequently. So regardless of which valley of death or which scale up pillar you might be on, revisiting our hedgehog and really thinking about it is a worthwhile exercise. And Stephanie, of course, her hedgehog was her payroll service for nannies, and by focusing on it, that meant that they were able to do that even better and better over time, further increasing their differentiation. So that's the hedgehog. And then that profit engine, that bottom right hand circle, whatever that is, needs to be scalable in itself, because if that's not scalable, it's an ad hoc, then we're just focusing on something that fits the three circles, but at the end isn't really a scalable product or service. And those three things we need to think about, and this is the TVR, is it needs to be teachable. In other words, it can't be something that can only be done by you. It needs to be valuable, as in differentiated, and customers value that to the point where they will pay ideally a premium for it, but certainly that it is differentiated, not a commodity service that they can get anywhere. And it needs to have an element of repeatability. Ideally, it's a recurring service, but it's certainly something that your customers may need to come back for, or that it leads to additional service or product sales that are, and not just a one-off purchase. So that's your TVR. And Stephanie, of course, here in the top right, she developed a payroll service that became highly process driven, and they were able to focus on that, ensuring that the delivery wasn't reliant on Stephanie or indeed any other of her key employees. And it was already a differentiated service and valued by their customers, but by further focusing on it, they were able to constantly improve it, and they ended up with an extremely high net promoter score, which is also one of the things that contributed towards the ultimate sale and value. And of course, essentially it was a recurring revenue or subscription service, so it's repeatable, and she was able to track things like the customer acquisition cost, the churn rates, ultimately lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio, and all of those good things. So you can do a simple exercise for this to get to that sort of chart, is simply by listing your key products and services down one side, and then TVR across the top, and doing a relative rating out of 10 for each of them, and seeing how that plays out. But it might lead to some interesting findings. So some of you may well be at that fork in the road. If you've been successful, which you will have been to a degree, or already you've got that strong customer base, and you might well now be discussing ways to leverage. So just be cautious, remember Stephanie, and think about whether it's more appropriate to focus on selling less stuff to more people rather than diversifying into areas that might be less differentiated. And to sum up, remember this question that we posed at the beginning: could you handle 5 times the number of customers if they landed in your lap tomorrow? If not, then you might need to think about things a little bit more, have a review, maybe consider the hedgehog, maybe consider the TVR, and take it from there. So that's what I wanted to cover as a quick intro, hopefully spark some ideas, some thoughts that we might be able to take away from here or take into our breakouts. What I'd really like to do now, and I shall stop sharing the screen in a minute, but I'd like to introduce Johnny Kaplan, who I had a fantastic conversation with on Scale Up Radio just a few weeks ago. And Johnny is going to talk us around scaling up with the angle of global marketing and TV. That's his background, and he's the CEO of Tech Talk Media and Impossible Media, and he also won the Creative Entrepreneur of the Year Award at the Great British Entrepreneur Awards in 2022. So really looking forward to Johnny. And Johnny, I'm going to hand over to you now. You should be able to share your screen when you're ready, but maybe we could give a Zoom round of applause to Johnny while he sets his screen up.
So kind of you guys, thank you so much, and big congrats to Kevin, who's just been selected as a finalist for the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. So he's probably too modest to mention it himself, but we should definitely give him a round of applause for an upcoming potential award that he's in the shortlist for, and rightly so. So congrats on that, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Johnny.
All right, so let me just get this screen shared. Given me permission, I take it?
Should be.
Okay, share sound, optimize for video. Okay, let me get my emails off. That's probably a bad start. And I'll share this. Okay, everybody see that? Kevin, you see
Yes.
that?
Yes,
Yeah?
I'll see
Great.
that. Yep, that's good.
Great. Okay, so thanks so much, everybody, for listening, and thank you to Kevin for hosting me there, and congrats on the good work that you do, inspiring other entrepreneurs to do, you know, to scale up and to get to the next stage. It's just as Kevin was talking about, 90% of startups fail in the first 3 years. That's 90%. So, you know, heaven thinks, why on earth do any of us do this? But it's exactly that challenge and the struggle, which is the exciting bit of a business. It teaches you incredible skills. And I'll tell you a little bit about my journey, and perhaps you can realize how I've been through those struggles for many years. So at 14 years old, there was a entrepreneurial competition at school, and it was held by the Duke of Edinburgh. It was a Duke of Edinburgh Award. And somehow through the country, I built a business for the school that created a lot of impactful charity donations, and we won the competition. I was the CEO of that company at 14 years old. And that really, really inspired me to be an entrepreneur for the rest of my life. So I've over 30 years since then, you know, grinding every single day, no matter how high or low the business has been. It's been a grind, an exciting one, a challenging one, but that's taught me everything that I know to date. Just to skip forwards a little bit, after having many different tech companies, I actually featured on Dragon's Den about, to tell you the exact time around, it's about 15 years ago now. And I was so excited to be on Dragon's Den. I thought that was a wonderful opportunity to promote my company. And the staff were so wonderful, the production team, they thought I had a fantastic business. And I had a fantastic hour in the studio. But as the hour came to a close, they started to ask me some very difficult questions, which they were prepped for on a previous business, which I had a very difficult partner and a very difficult experience. None of my own fault, but that's what they wanted to get on TV. And what they did is they cut up a good 1.5 minutes of drama with a good 1.5 minutes of the good stuff, and they made dramatic TV. Their aim was to make good television, get good views, but not really to support my entrepreneurship journey and not really to support my business. And I quickly got very upset by the thought that I'd spent 6 months putting time and effort into promoting my business, and really they could have created some damage if they wanted to. Luckily, I pulled myself out of that, but I quickly realized that television really wasn't the friend of business. There were great shows like The Apprentice and Shark Tank and Dragon's Den and Secret Millionaire and all that stuff. They're great shows, but they're not a true representation of the entrepreneurship that most of us go through. So in 2017, I started up Tech Talk Media. Tech Talk Media was really there to bridge the gap between entrepreneurship, innovation, and business and television, and really show the amazing power of human creativity and innovation, and showcase that on TV for real, factual productions, not dramatized, not scripted, just real people doing amazing stuff. Our first show was called Tech Talk. Tech Talk featured 50 under-the-radar technology innovators like flying taxis and robots that look after the elderly and 3D holographic surgery. We put those 53 companies on the map in 2019 on Amazon and Apple and many other. It's in 100 countries today and more than 30 broadcasters. Those 53 startups generated more than $500 million in deal flow since the show went live. The show won 11 International Film Festival awards and created massive impact just by showcasing what other people are doing and showing them if someone else can do it, then you can do it, and actually focusing on the positive, not on the contention, not on the negativity, not on the drama, but on the positive milestones that people have made and their creativity and innovation, and showcasing that to other people. So today we have 18 productions, the rise of AI, inside NASA's innovation. We have shows on sustainability and cannabis and all these kind of emerging areas that people don't really understand fully. What we do is we showcase the real entrepreneurs, the real experts, the scientists, the engineers, the innovators, the people that are driving those markets. We create factual productions, we put them on television, And those make massive market activity and impact due to the fact that other people are inspired, they're motivated, they connect with those brands and companies, and it makes a lot of impact. So here's the cover of Tech Talk, the first show that we created, that you'll see some of the awards there up the top. I'm one of the hosts alongside the niece of Steven Spielberg, Jessie Katz. She's very American, I'm very British, and we have this marriage on screen, really elevating and propelling entrepreneurs to find out how they made their journey. So I'm very quickly going to show you the trailer to it, which should be on the next screen. I hope this will play for us.
I was embarking on something new. Technologies that will actually benefit humanity, benefit society, and benefit whatever comes.
You save thousands of civilian lives.
Alexa, change the art in my home.
To be an entrepreneur is first of all to be a dreamer and to be sort of a little bit delusional.
Dance!
Can I impress you with the Tai Chi dance?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, so the braking system is showing up. I'm now traveling 191 kilometers an hour theoretically. Wow, that's absolutely incredible.
You should see our smart conference room. It's very impressive as well.
Hi, welcome to our booth.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
I've been a daily cannabinoid user for 17 years, and I will be until the day I drop.
We've met tons of entrepreneurs, startups, investors, and venture capital funds.
Nice to meet you.
Challenges are every day.
Welcome to Startup Life.
Exactly.
Keep watching for our next episode, and thank you for watching.
Going round in circles, 'cause I'm chasing dreams. These runaway fantasies are in my head, trying to break free.
So, how we get back from that? Okay, there we go. Oops. All right. So this is Tech Talk's ecosystem today. Actually, PricewaterhouseCoopers saw Tech Talk, they saw the success of it, and they came to us and requested that we join their Tech She Can charter that inspires young girls to get into technology jobs. They took Tech Talk and they put it on the British educational system for 8 to 13-year-olds. And now we're very blessed to have our production shown to young kids from 8 to 13 as they learn in school to inspire them to get into technology careers. So huge impact just from really sharing real innovation, real entrepreneurs, real creativity, showcasing that to the world, obviously creating it in a way that's digestible. And now today, this is really our ecosystem of strategic partners, broadcast partners. And of course, we get involved and we nurture those businesses. We help them to connect and to create further deal flow. So another very quick video just to show you another amazing innovation.
So I'm here with Aviad and Shaul, the founders of RealView Imaging.
Hello.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
Hello, hello.
Tell us a little bit about RealView. Tell us about the holoscope machine and what you intend to do with it.
The holoscope system is the first system in the world that allows the physician during a procedure to see a hologram in front of him, but also to work with the hologram, to manipulate the hologram in the air while he's doing the procedure.
It's like a 3D printer of light, and then we create the image in space in real time. It is dynamic.
So what you're seeing here is the holoscope eye system. And what you can do is you can move inside the system and just hold the hologram in your hand. And you can now manipulate the hologram during a procedure.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. Firstly, I'm seeing this very lifelike looking object. It's a pulsating heart.
You can move between functions using voice commands. You can try, just say holoscope rotate.
Holoscope rotate.
Rotate mode.
Oh, so he understood me. So now I'm going to get my finger in.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Wow. Holoscope slice.
Slice mode.
You're slicing into the image in the same location that the image is located.
Okay, I'm just rushing ahead because I know I'm running out of time, Kevin, so I'm conscious of that. Here's today some of the titles that we have live. You can go and see them on Amazon. You can watch them on Virgin Media and Discovery and other channels.
But these are really making market movement in each of the areas that we focus on. 3 years ago, we started creating a show called The Rise of AI. As we launched it, everybody was going hyperbolic about AI. So we're getting these emerging areas. And really the point that we're trying to get to here is that our shows make massive impact through promoting these companies on television. Now, as an entrepreneur, it's very, very difficult to get exposure, to get yourself out there. When I had a business sort of about 20 years ago, we changed the face of the business, just like, was it Stephanie, I believe, by putting television adverts to what we were doing. We bought these sort of leftover television adverts, 30-second adverts at the end of the month. We used to buy them for £15 each, would you believe it or not, because nobody wanted them. And then we would put our adverts on there, and we times our business by about 25 times the income doing that. And I very quickly realized the power of television. And really the point is here is there's a lot that can be done with your business in the way that you present yourself, the way that you promote yourself, the way that you get out there. And often it doesn't have to be done in the traditional ways. Everything we've done in this business has been untraditional, right? There are no companies that invest and independently create shows and then sell them to the networks. The networks pay for it. There's no one who doesn't care about the drama. The dramas seem to be top of the tier right now. So we did it all backwards, but it worked for us. And really the most important thing to a business is your image and the way that other people perceive you. I used to have a business a long time ago doing marketing for other people, and we would say, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And people judge very quickly in this materialistic world today. So the way that you perceive yourself is very important. Use the power of business. Use the power of video, to get your message out there. Use the power of social media. Anybody with a phone, anybody with a computer today can create their own videos. There are many apps and AI and all sorts of things to help you. Really, what we did for each of these companies and we're doing for the markets going forwards in a considerable way is showcasing what they're doing to millions of people, and they're getting connections and investors and strategic partners and clients coming from places they couldn't imagine. The best advice I could give you today is plant seeds every day, even if you don't believe those seeds will turn into flowers. The secret of my success has only been resilience. It hasn't always been easy. It's always been a challenge. But the only thing that I've been has been entirely determined to get through it no matter what. And every single day I have checklists. I try to cross off some things. I try to add some things, and I try to plant seeds every day. And what you'll find is after a certain bit of time, those seeds will start to form flowers. And if you continually plant seeds every day, you'll forget about them and things will start to come in. Just as Kevin was saying before, people will contact you. Things will come out of the woodworks. Use the resources that are available to you, even if they're outside of your comfort zone, and try to scale up. That's really the power here. We use television, we use video, we use media to help startups, emerging business, emerging tech to scale up. And we believe in it very strongly. And that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Johnny. So yeah, planting seeds every day. Really strong resilience, and as one of your guests said, maybe we're all dreamers and a little delusional, and maybe that helps with the resilience as well. I think a bit of delusion never hurt. Good, thank you very much indeed. I think we got time for one or two questions. If you'd like to just stop the sharing.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Johnny, that would be great. I can probably.
How do I stop?
Okay.
I got it. There we go.
Yeah, I think we've just done that. Good. So
I think we've got my sensitive emails off in the background instead of working out how to share.
Good. So thank you very much indeed for that. It was fascinating. Anybody? Let's see. We've got time for one or two questions. Anybody got a burning question? Oh, here we go. Jim, you've got a question. They got a hand raised.
Yeah, brilliant. Look, I love that story and the visuals as well, Johnny. I suppose for me, as a founder is looking to scale up significantly over the next 2 to 5 years, what are the barriers to entry apart from budget for TV media? And I love what you said. You bought some cheap media.
Yeah.
I'm so busy, and it's not an excuse, but I'm ignorant to how I would even start to think about advertising on TV. They've got great story to tell, and I often think we could get on TV as show Country File or something like that. However, TV advertising is just a complete unknown to me.
So let's take advertising out of the equation, right? Because that wasn't what I was suggesting. I think that advertising is a big cost and often huge risk, and you don't know what you're getting into unless you have a big budget. That's a difficult one. But look, I regularly feature on television shows, on news shows, in magazines. That's not because people just turn up at my door and ask me to do it. Sometimes they do, but generally it's just through hard graft. And I am immensely busy, right? I have 4 businesses, right? I work 18 hours a day. I'm unmarried probably for that reason. But what I would say is that you can always find 15 minutes, 20 minutes, right, to look at your phone and something like that. And what you really need to be doing, and somebody on your team can do this, you don't need to do it yourself, is reach out to people. LinkedIn is a very powerful resource, I would say, right? Reach out to people, send a message, have one paragraph for what you're doing. I'd love to be a contributor. I'd love to feature. I'd love to tell our story, and ping those out. Those are the seeds I was talking about. So go out to the BBC or any network you can think of, any news show, any talk show, and contact them and bombard them with messages. You will break through at some point where someone will give you some free marketing, because other people need content. They're looking for stuff. Determination and resilience is everything in business, absolutely everything. If you are determined enough, you will break through, even if everything says that you shouldn't. So really determination and resilience in actually keep pushing and knocking on doors. And they're virtual doors today. It's so easy to ping out a number of virtual messages, but that's the easiest thing I would say to start off with if you don't know what you're doing, is get somebody on the team to reach out to people. If you've got something unique, something exciting, a nice story, send them a press release, send them an article. Don't talk too much in it, be brief, get to the point, and don't annoy them as well. So be obviously polite and friendly.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Right. Maybe one quick question, if there is one. Otherwise, we will move on to the next stage of the session. Okay, great. Super. I think we're all covered. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into these breakouts, and those of you that haven't tried these before, you're going to really enjoy these, and you'll see the power of how these work. What we'll do, so we've got groups that Caroline's put together running. So we've got Granger and Mel, Louise, myself, and Peter, I think, are the ones that are facilitating today. Caroline's nodding, so that's good. And they will help keep us on time, help sure everybody gets a chance in the spotlight and to ask questions. What we'd love you to do is to introduce yourselves, but in your spotlight, you'll only have around about just short of 10 minutes each, but enough time to maybe raise a challenge or something that you would like to talk about. It could be to do with the theme today, or it could be something else that's on your mind at the minute that you'd really like to use the others as a sounding board for, and then the others will ask questions and we'll come away with great takeaways and things. Then we'll all come back here, back in the main room at 2:15. So Caroline, if we're ready to go, we'll do that now.